Welcome everybody, I am the Bad Duck and you are the internet. Welcome back to another video. 2022 has been a roller coaster in terms of film. Marvel has seen a sharp decrease over the last year in terms of money. Legends make their way back to the screen, and of course, sequels galore. With the year it's been as any other year, there are going to be some duds. Of course, I was unable to see every movie that came out this year, but was able to see nearly 50. Of course, this is just my opinion alone. I'm not going to agree with your picks, and you're not going to agree with my picks. Just be kind in the comments and let me know your thoughts. But anyway, here's the bottom 10 of 2022. Number 10, Do Revenge. Netflix. Do Revenge is a huge bait and switch. It was advertised as a lesbian revenge story, which I was highly intrigued by due to large amounts of straight kids outing the closet kids in movies that seemed popular in the 90s and 2000s. But it was a teen Netflix movie, so I went in with the bar on the floor. Instead of a lesbian revenge story, we got a straight and lesbian best friend revenge story that got muddled in weird backstory and dumb drama. This movie thinks it's smarter than the audience, when in reality it changes direction midway through and then back again towards the third act. It's boring, it's predictable, above all else it doesn't understand the generation it's portraying and aiming at. Netflix has this thing for advertising towards the LGBTQ community and pulling the plug on those shows or flip the story so that it no longer cares or has little to do with it after the changes. Do Revenge is the magnum opus of this ideal. Anyway, this is about the movie, not Netflix's grimy schemes. Maya Hawke is the best actress in the movie, and even then, she's not the greatest actress. She seems to be between two completely different people and struggles to capture who the character really is. Everyone else in this film is just a douche with no redeeming qualities, which makes it really hard to sympathize with anyone, even Hawke. Whoever writes these movies seems hell-bent on the idea that Gen Z is about expensive bullshit, sex, and manipulation. This would be great for a show like Dynasty or Empire or Mad Men that has stakes, but here it just seems out of place and cries wolf, especially with the generation. It's bland, it's generic, it's what Netflix has been known for. Number 9, Don't Worry Darling, Warner Brothers Discovery. Don't Worry Darling was highly anticipated by me. Not only was it another lead performance from Florence Pugh in a psychological thriller, but Olivia Wilde returned to direct after a solid outing in Booksmart. The drama started to occur around this movie and, well, it just spun off from there. Pugh and Wilde reportedly had on-set fights. Wilde was reportedly cheating on her husband with Harry Styles instead of, doing her job. Pugh stepped up to direct in part of it. Styles may have spat on Chris Pine at the premiere, and of course, due to WBD cutting everything and being broke, that was the only other movie alongside of Black Adam that could release this year. While I was shook by the drama, I still had some hope. I went into the movie with a little knowledge of anyone's opinion, and, well, it sucked. A thriller with no thrills, a stupid reveal, and it dragged out with the bad acting, and in the end, a generic version of Get Out, but just for a white woman. It also kind of just ends, which is fine with movies with, are good, or are leading to a sequel because the movie was good, or that's just the message that things kind of just end. Nothing in this movie is wrapped up. Pugh gets out and it just ends. Seeing her try to get contact for any help or see if anyone can get free, it just kind of ends. It's boring, it's confusing, and it's a title out of a film. Just keep Styles away from acting ever again. Stick with music, Harry. Have some watermelon sugar. Seems like you and Wilde were on that the entire time in production. Number 8, Black Adam, Warner Brothers Discovery. After stooping to a literal 100-year business, as I said earlier, WBD decided, don't worry, darling, and this film will be the rest for the end of the year. And you had the confidence in letting these be the start of the merger process? Black Adam is what movies are being afraid of. Being bad? No. Bad movies sometimes can be great, with either so bad it's good or just be mindless filler. Black Adam is generic. This movie had 15 years to figure out what it could have been, and in the end, we get a movie that belongs in 2005. And would have been serviceable for the subgenre back then. The Rock, while I'm fond of him more than others, lacks any emotion in this movie. It's boring. It tells us everything, which is great when you have a saga and some people might not be caught up on, like Star Wars or something, but we don't need any background from previous movies. Just show us instead of just telling us everything. They do a twist midway through the movie that Black Adam isn't the real champion of Kadak, but his kid who gave him the powers. Man, that would have been killer to give some depth to your character at the beginning of the movie. When you covered it in the beginning already, and we had no idea what this kid had to do for an hour and a half. The supporting cast is painfully average. The two human leads are a pain to deal with. pushing orders to these godly characters who don't have any reason to keep her or her kid around besides the plot. There are some decently cool action scenes, but they're done by the first act, and they don't have any type of energy in the rest of the movie. They keep telling us Hawkman is dying like 5 times, and I'm just sitting here like, I got it. The first time, guys. Just stop telling me. Cyclone and Anastasia are used so little that it's disappointing. Dr. Fate is probably the best part of this movie, but again, is average at best. Hawkman is a stoic, generic good guy, and that's not very fun to deal with, especially when on the other side you have the stoic bad guy. The thing too is that The Rock can't play a very good bad guy, which is ironic from his days in WWE. It feels like he's going to break character at any point and just turn to be a good guy. This movie sets up a lot of future, but in the end, The Rock becomes the downfall of this movie and likely the whole franchise. He brings in Superman to try to push for a sequel that no one cared for besides that Cavill was coming back, and now he's not. And The Rock refuses to shoot a cameo for his counterpart to Black Adam in Shazam 2. This movie did the mortal sin in entertainment and was generic and boring. Number 7, Jurassic World Dominion, Universal Pictures. I really loved the Jurassic Park franchise, and I loved Fallen Kingdom. It was fun and different, and Dominion released, and the walls crumbled. Lots of the plotlines didn't come out of nowhere, and it hurt the movie, especially with the Lotuses. I don't think they've ever been discussed in the franchise before, and they kind of just show up. The problem here is from the generic villain. Oh no, what can the film do this time? Oh, it's corporate greed. It's not like we've done that before. There's 1 or 2 good suspenseful scenes, but otherwise Dominion made dinosaurs lame. We focus too much on the human characters. I don't care for Chris Pratt or the OG trilogy besides Goldblum, because when the OG cast and the new cast get together, you're dealing with 6 main characters and additional 3 side characters that were introduced throughout the movie. It's just too much and fuddled, especially when you're trying to give everyone enough screen time and development. It takes away from another part of this movie, and that being the fucking dinosaurs. You know, the thing I paid to come see, which we should have done because, you know, the last movie set up, dinosaurs taking over the world like a Jurassic World. But now we just make about these bugs and always a shit about. And at the end, the dinosaurs are going to live in peace and harmony with humans because we said so. It's not like we've been shown that doesn't work out before. It does swing and a miss so badly their helmet came off. Number 6, Men, A24. A24 at this point is known for its artistic style when it comes to horror, and especially psychological horror. Midsommar, Hereditary, Saint Maud, X, just to name a few. Men was looking to be that again and be a hit, which I was anticipating this movie, especially with a woman lead, presenting itself as a film about trauma induced by men that affects someone for the rest of life, and gaslighting as a present issue. And honestly, that movie could have been beautiful, but we got Men, and like a lot of men, it was unsatisfying and not what it seemed. The first half of the movie is pretty well done. I wasn't really blown away, more bored than anything with these slow, stagnant shots that don't go anywhere. The message is pretty well laid out in the beginning, but lost itself and ended up detracting from the message, so it can be a body horror of incels, which immediately shot itself in the foot by doing so. Could have had an excellent story about trauma and paranoia, and I really blame Alex Garland for that, because he wrote and directed this movie. He's done some great work in the past, but frankly it seems like he phoned in a plot because he's never really dealt with the trauma and plight that women deal with on a daily basis. I never have either, but this movie seems very dismissive of those women, and it uses it for marketing purposes. It seems that women were largely not a part of the decisions that went into the movie. Only one woman had a producer title, and that was just an associate producer, which taints us all as a gaslighting from a men's perspective, not our main character being gaslit throughout. Number 5, They/Them, Blumhouse. Remember all that shit I went into with Do Revenge of Men for mislabeling, and in the end using the minorities in oppressed groups for money-making reasons and not doing jack with it to shoot honestly the plight or heartache these groups go through on a daily basis? I now introduce you to They/Them, which takes this to an extreme. Taking place at a conversion camp that could have been an excellent ideal for a horror movie on torturous events that go on at these establishments, but we get one part weird adults doing things because they're hateful and two-faced about it. Cool, great, sounds like a nice psychological horror. But they throw a slasher in there who once was a camper, meaning they're the villain of this whole movie, which wasn't the horrible adults forcing these kids to not be who they are, but instead by the oppressive minorities who are made to be the villain. See the mixed messaging that has been sent? Yeah, on top of that, there's some odd scenes of including like the pink scene. Overall, this movie doesn't seem to understand the issues of the LGBTQ youth, and it makes them the bad guy at the end. And looking through some of the reviews, it seems like a lot of people took away from this movie being overall a homophobic and transphobic mess, which is what it shouldn't have been in the first place. Number 4, The Bubble, Netflix. What do you get when you mix an unsympathetic issues of actors being forced to deal with common shit like The Man and not being funny? The Bubble. This feels like a Mad Lib done by an executive and comes out like one. It's too fucking long, it's not relatable, it's not funny, it's over the top, and it's dumb. They dragged Daddy Pascal into this, and no wonder he's got so many good roles right now because they have to make up for this movie. Highly forgettable trash by a really good comedy director. So I don't know what the fuck happened. If anyone asks if I want to watch this movie ever again, I'm going to differentiate myself. God, this movie is horrid. I'm moving on. I don't even want to talk about this anymore. Number 3, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Netflix. Along with making every worst choice as a business in the world, somehow Netflix landed 3 movies on this list. Promise this is the last Netflix movie. Texas Chainsaw is a requel much like 2018. Actually, it's exactly that, but just shit. Okay, let's go over it. Gen Z mischaracterized again. Stop having old men write for 15-year-old girls, using a school shooting as a plot point because they wanted to, and it comes off disgustingly gross. The lack of the name for the wife of a main character. I'm not even kidding. The subtitles had her name as Dante's wife. The corny dialogue and violence. I like me some gore, but how the fuck do you make violence corny? The death, but not death, of Sally Hardesty, who was not needed for this movie. The ending scene with the Tesla. Dante's death. I had to look up his name. It's not like I'm against corny dialogue either, but when you play it straight, it's terrible. It seems like Texas Chainsaw has a big problem with this franchise.
Do your thing, cuz.
The lack of awareness and decisions of characters is laughable. Quite literally had to pause and laugh because it was just that bad. I'll give this movie a little bit of props. The bus scene, even with this line,
try anything and you're canceled, bro,
was actually quite well done. The cinematography is great, but the rest of the movies I want to fucking shove in a garbage disposal. Not to nitpick, but I am. But one extra comment. How the fuck is that chainsaw working for 50 years? Wouldn't the gas have corroded in the inside and be rusted to shit? Anyways, next. Number 2, Morbius. Sony. The first movie to make more $1 billion. Honestly, this movie was a meme from when it was first announced, and then adding Jared Leto's involvement was the perfect mess for the internet to get its hands on. None of this movie makes sense. Why does Milo say, fuck it, this random kid keeps calling me, I'll go buy it? Like, what? There's ripping off Batman, there's the shitty CGI, the boring story, and a million other things I can go into. It wasn't going to be good in the first place, but somehow with the bar on the floor, it missed expectations. Honestly, what do they have him as method to make this movie? Shit, what do they have him to make this scene alone to be forever enshrined in cinema history? The best thing about this movie is the credits, quite literally, and the entire internet collectively bullying Sony into re-releasing this film into theaters for it to bomb again. As a joke. Do I have to say more? Before we get into the worst movie of the year, I want to give some dishonorable mentions. Cammy. Too many messages, overall mediocre, uninspired storytelling. Firestarter. Didn't think it was too bad, but overall lazy. Home Team. A story I was really interested in, that being the Sean Payne suspension, but morphed into a Kevin James comedy that, well, is a Kevin James comedy. Number 1, Amsterdam, 20th Century Fox. All-star cast, zany ideas, set in one of the most turbulent times in American history. What could go wrong? It seemed to be a home run out of the gates. Margot Robbie, Christian Bale, John David Washington, Rami Malek, Anna Taylor-Joy, Robert De Niro, Michael Shannon, Chris Rock, Zoe Saldana, Timothy Olyphant, Mike Myers, no, the other one, Taylor Swift. Turns out, something did go terribly wrong. These actors are some of the best of the business, right? Okay. Well, for starters, this is some of the most flat acting possible. Something that Wes Anderson can do, but is not done well here. Wes Anderson may have flat actors who are doing it on purpose, but have a ton of energy and fun in his movies. This movie's plot is boring and uninteresting. I mean, at one point, it's about bird watching. The editing is odd, to say the least. It's like either a line is held for 3 seconds after it's delivered, and then cuts the next line, or the characters are interrupting each other where I can't understand what they're saying. Characters speak their thoughts, like all of them. Their desires and intentions are laid out for us. The point of having great actors is to have them portray that through all their acting. It's the biggest waste of talent I can think of in the last decade, if not ever. It's boring. It's hard to watch, quite literally. I am wanting to smash my head into the desk after watching this. There isn't a single redeeming factor in the entire movie. At least I can find comedy in Morbius and Texan Chainsaw. This is just void of anything good. But that's all from my list. Thank you guys for watching. I am Bethuk, and you're there. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the top 10 best movies of 2022. And I will have a lot more fun talking about those than dragging with the past of my trauma over the last year. But thank you guys for watching. I'm the Bad Tick, and you're there, and have a very good night.